Hello everyone, Sheik here with another Transformers review, and today I'll be reviewing the Transformers Age of the Primes Trypticon. He is a reissue of the Titans Returns Trypticon, and I decided to go ahead and pick him up again, as I did at one point have the Titans Returns. He turns from a spaceship to a T-Rex and to a city, and he is well, apparently ages 15 and up. So let's take a look at well, the bottom. Yep, nothing there really. Top, Trypticon emblem, Transformers, and that's about it for the packaging. As you can clearly see, his city mode is quite large indeed, and fortunately for me, my rotating table barely fits on top of the city mode. So there you can see Necro, Fulltilt's Headmaster, and Fulltilt's Vehicle mode on proud display, rotating around like a car on a showroom floor. And here is Fulltilt in his robot mode, and he is pretty cool, even if he is mostly monochromatic in just a light pink colors, but he does have more color going on than the original Titans Returns version, although I wouldn't mind potentially getting stickers for him at some point, but that really was a pain the first time with the Titans Returns version. Fulltilt focus is the original mold from the Titans Return. It would be nice if they had maybe updated the mold a little bit to give him waist rotation or even just ankle pivots, which, I mean, I can understand why they didn't, because that would have been a little bit more engineering. But hey, it is what it is. Even with the somewhat dated articulation, he is still pretty cool. Although he is a little bit loose in some of the joints, unfortunately, which could be them using the mold for Trypticon over and over again. I guess that might be part of it, considering this is the second run of it. And also another thing, not specifically related to Fulltilt, but the hips, that shouldn't really be an issue for anything from the later end of Titans Return, and then of course in Age of the Primes with them self-destructing. I also, another note, used to have the Titans Returns Trypticon. Mine was fortunately one of the serial numbers that was later on, so it didn't have the hip issue. Unfortunately, I got rid of him because, well, long story short, had to move and didn't have a room for it, so I took him to a local comic book shop along with a significant portion of my collection at the time. Anyway, his articulation head is on the ball joint of the Titan Master. He does get quite a bit of wibbly wobbly. Head can do a full 360. Arms can go out that far, although it is a little bit weird because of the way the hinges, because it is on a ball joint on the shoulder. So if you're only going based off of that ball joint, you can only go out about that far, but with that hinge, it can go out that far. Arms can do a full 360 that way. Bicep rotation, and he has a tiny little elbow, but he does get about 90-degree bend at the elbow. Nothing at the wrist, nothing at the waist. Legs go forward that far, back that far. Thigh rotation, about just a little less than 90-degree bend at the knee, and no ankle tiltage to speak of. This is the little gun that goes on his car mode, and it is pretty cool with silver or gray painted on here, although it looks like on my copy it is a little rubbed off. But I think it's better than the original one. It looks like it's done in black plastic, but I think the Titans Returns one wasn't really painted like this and was more toy accurate color-wise, whereas this one is supposed to be more toon accurate. And I kind of wish I had the original just to have them side by side, but as you can see, this Trypticon takes up most of my desk. Actually, more than my desk. A good portion's actually hanging off right now. But I digress. And then I guess before transformation, and this I guess will be the first step. Let's go ahead. Oh boy. There we are. Pop off his head because he is a headmaster. The thing of Titan's Returns is just all the headmasters. I kind of wish that they had gone now. Granted, like I said, this is during Titan's Return, so it makes sense that they did this. But the original Fulltilt isn't a headmaster. It just transforms a bit differently. It has a nice little detail, molded in detail on the chest, and the head looks pretty nice as well. Articulation is obviously standard headmaster articulation. Just essentially can make him sit down, lay down kind of, and then rotate the arms up, and then I guess you can go out to the side just a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much it for him. So we know what time it is now. And here we have Fulltilt in his car mode. It is pretty cool. I like all the molded in detail inside of there. And there's like the, let's see if focus right there, but there's panels right there. I'm pretty sure that the repro labels that they did for Age of the Primes is probably very similar to what they had for Titan's Returns. I did get the Titan Return labels. It was absolutely phenomenal. Highly recommend repro labels, although considering that I'm going to keep more toon aesthetic, I'm probably not going to get the repro labels, but that could also just be me not wanting to spend a bunch of money on some stickers that are eventually going to peel off to extent. Now, granted, repro labels stay on pretty well for the most part, but there's always some that inevitably start to peel over time, and I'm just not in the mood for that, especially considering how time consuming it is to do. Anyway, you can just go ahead and pop little Fulltilt in there, and then close it up, and there he can drive around his body, or transector. Oh, wait, and I missed a step. There we are. There, now he can drive around properly, and it rolls around as rolling things should. Okay, so this tower right here is actually a little mount for Fulltilt, which just sits up in there like so. And that's it for that. And let's go ahead and take out little Fulltilt because he'll be used for something else in Dino mode. Anyway, the city, let me go ahead and I'll bring this camera stand back a bit, and maybe even more of a bit. There we can see the entire, or pretty much the entire city mode. And you can see how big it is. Like, it is enormous. Now, I will say, as far as displaying with other, like a play set with other figures, I typically go more the size of like Titan Masters. Oh man, I wish I still had all my Titan Masters from the Titan line. I don't have as many of them anymore, but Minicons, Titan Masters, all the small ones are like perfect for this city mode, or any city mode, because you know, they're small, they don't look so big. Anything larger than like Scout class or the smaller ones just look way too big, way out of scale for like a city former, in my personal opinion. As far as playability in this mode, there's not too many options that you can do. I know there's an upgrade kit that I did get. I think it came with the repro labels actually, and it had the little 2 antenna tower things that would rotate on the original one, which I was lucky enough at one point to own the original, not original, but a reissue of the original Trypticon. Absolutely amazing, much smaller, and would easily fit on this desk. Okay, so yeah, this is pretty much the city. There's like, you can pretend these are like helipads or something, same with the bottom of the feet. There is a little like enclosure inside here on the side. it might be easier to show that off in spaceship mode, but space cruiser mode. But there is a space in there. There's just a lot going on with Trypticon. But as you can see, it's pretty difficult to maneuver around unless you're on a large flat surface like this. Obviously, it's more of a toy meant for kids, or I guess collectors. If you have a huge table to use as like a diorama, because yeah, this in my TF room is well, let's just say the only mode I can really display him in is dinosaur mode, because he just spreads out way too much. Looks really cool, but takes up too much space. Anyway, let's go ahead and get Trypticon into his spaceship mode. Okay, so here we have him in his spaceship, space station, whatever mode you want to call it. And I guess I should rotate that back up. I had it pushed down so that I could have the city mode further back on my backdrop. But as you can see, it is Fortress Maximus has a much better spaceship mode than Trypticon, in my opinion. Because look how piddly little these little wings are compared to the big old body of the spaceship. Now, don't get me wrong, it still looks kind of cool. And now you can better see the little cavity inside for, I don't know, little Titan Masters, if you want to put them in there. And then another thing about this mode is that the tail opens up like this. And that allows you to put Fulltilt in there if you want, or any other, I guess, kind of deluxe sized vehicle in there, which is really cool. It's like a loading bay. You could even say like for like cargo storage, which is pretty cool. I think that this is like one of the better playset type, because I will say, as far as especially the Titans Return stuff, Metroplex's city mode, not Metroplex. Metroplex was some other line. I can't remember what. I never actually had him, but Fortress Maximus, his robot mode, good. Spaceship mode, awesome. But his city mode, no, horrible. Fortress Maximus city mode was an absolute disgrace. They did him dirty. The original one did it way much better than the Titans Returns version. But I think that Trypticon overall has the best city mode out of all the city formers, except for Fortress Maximus, the original one, because it actually looks like an actual fortress. But even then, he doesn't sprawl out the same way that Trypticon does. Trypticon does that so very well. And this mode is just so cool. Well, goofy, but also cool at the same time. Yeah, I know I'm contradicting myself, but yeah, he is so cool. So, time to get him into Tyrannosaurus mode, or Godzilla mode, whatever you want to call it. Also, Trypticon would have been a much better crossover. Just remold him a little bit, and he would have been perfect to be a Godzilla. Now, granted, it would have been astronomical in price, I guess, compared to like the smaller ones, but I digress. Shouldn't have been Grimlock. Anyway. And here we have Trypticon in his giant Tyrannosaurus or kaiju mode, whatever you want to call it, because he's definitely enormous, definitely probably even bigger than most kaiju, but he is absolutely enormous. And there are a couple of things that I can show off with Fulltilt, Fulltilt's headmaster anyway. Okay, let's go ahead and rotate this around. And also, as far as being cartoon accurate, this is pretty toon accurate. I did find pictures of both of the cartoon where he had this down, but there's also, and this is where Fulltilt comes in again. Make sure this way. You push him in there, but he doesn't necessarily sit in there the greatest, but you can leave Fulltilt in to fill in this little gap in his head, but it pops up that little gun thing, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get Fulltilt out of there and not hopefully in the trash. There we are. And then one last thing you can do with little Fulltilt is, if you see in here, and when they redesigned Trypticon, they're like, all right, we're not going to give him the walking gimmick or the electronics of the original, so there was a lot of space that they had left over that they could use. And speaking of the original walking gimmick, if you look at his feet, if I tilt it down so you can look at his feet, you'll see those little black things right here. On the original toy, those would go over each other. It was like extra support for when he was motorized walking, which was really, really cool. Granted, he walked pretty slowly, but it was still really cool because his arms moved with his legs as they were connected by like a hinge, so it was really awesome. Anyway, you can eat Titan Masters, so that's pretty cool. And then goes into this little prison, if you want to call it a prison, but it just goes into his chest, stomach cavity, although I don't know how he got into the lower one. Well, let's see, let's try this again. I guess he must have just bounced and then went into that one. That's weird. Anyway, but and that is one downside though to this, and same with the original one. I had the issue with the original one a little bit, but it seems a little more prevalent on this one. Is that this little door up here doesn't really stay tabbed in the best. Same with Fulltilt's hinge right here, like he'll sag a little bit. So if you don't have Trypticon standing perfectly straight up, he will sometimes, well, sag over. So let's go ahead and get Fulltilt back in there. And look at it from the side. You can see that this actually looks really cool from the side, more so than from the front. And then as far as like posability, articulation, I'm not going to go through every single range of motion on this guy because they're, well, the big ones are always really tough to articulate properly. But as you can see, he does have a pretty good range of motion with his legs, forearms, and head. So that's an actually pretty cool pose, I think. Maybe roaring at Metroplex as they're about to throw down or something. So that's pretty awesome. And so far, so good. Fulltilt isn't really sagging too much, so that's pretty cool. I do like this pose. I might actually have him pose like that for the, well, for my display once I get him back up there. So that's about it for Transformers Age of the Primes, Trypticon, and Fulltilt. This is a really cool set. Highly recommend, especially if you miss out on the Titans Returns line version. And if you do have the Titans Return version and you want the more toon accurate version, well then I guess now is a good time to trade in your original one for this one. And if you like this review and you'd like to see more, please click that like and subscribe button to see more. And until next time, have a good one, everyone.